You want to find that drive and focus that has you locked in and on fire every single day? My book, The Mirror Motivation, will do it for you. I bought a copy for you. You take care of the shipping. The book is free. Click the link down there. I got you.
DreAllDay.com.
The show better than this one is the next episode of this show. You are now tuned in to the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there, even when the success you've expected to achieve is yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative. This is the go-getter energy that moves me, you, whoever, everybody to make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. Putting all this together, you get the mindset, the method, the podcast known as Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day. Welcome to the show. Today's topic is how I would figure whether or not to take you seriously about what you're doing, whether that's running a business, playing a sport, if you're a student in school, if you're just trying to figure things out, you're not quite sure what you're doing or where you're going. This is how So today's episode, what I'm going to be explaining to you is how I would decide whether or not to take a person seriously. This is how you can gauge whether to take someone seriously. And you also need to look at yourself in the mirror, because this show is self-development. This is personal growth. You need to look at yourself in the mirror and gauge your own actions, your own habits against the points that I'm going to make here today, and make sure you are not making any of the mistakes that I'm going to point out here today, so that people are taking you seriously. In sports, I receive and I have gotten a whole lot of people who would ask for what we will call handouts. In other words, someone coming to me in the form with a question in the form of, a request in the form of, and maybe you've had this too, give me something because I don't have anything to offer you. That's their reasoning. Right? I don't have anything to give you, so I want you to give me. Right? I don't have any money, so could you just make a program for me to work on my game for free? And this is a person who watched like 1,000 free YouTube videos, but they want me to make them a program because they don't have any money. Or I can't fill in the blank, whatever it is they think that you would want in exchange for your help, but I want you to give me that help. I don't have anything to offer you, but give me your time, give me your attention, give me your energy, give me your focus, give me your money, even though I don't have anything to offer you back. I've received a lot of these requests over the last 15 plus years. Now, that hasn't happened as often in the business world, but it does happen as often in the business world. This hasn't happened as often to me. That's just because I was in the basketball world longer than I've been in the business world still. I still haven't caught up yet in the business world, but it happens a whole lot in the sports world, especially in basketball. But today's episode is, while it is inspired by those sports experiences, this applies to everything. And some of you who are not athletes, you already know exactly what I'm talking about, because this happens to you all the time. So these points I'm going to make here today are how, again, you can gauge whether or not to take someone seriously, and also how you can also measure yourself to see if other people can, will, and should take you seriously. The topic again is how I know whether or not to take you serious. Point number one, excuses. I'm listening for the excuses that people make. I heard someone say this actually. They were talking about coaching. They were talking about the coaching business. And I'm talking about like business coaching or one-on-one coaching, life coaching, relationship coaching. When someone comes to you and they're interested in hiring you as a coach, and you get on the phone with this individual, this person, the advice that they were given was start asking them questions about, all right, what is the outcome that you want to achieve? They tell you what they want to achieve. Then you ask them, okay, so to this point, you've wanted this outcome and you've tried certain things, but you have not yet achieved this outcome that you're after. That's why you're looking to hire a coach. Why have you not achieved this outcome yet? Why are you looking for a coach for it? What has stopped you from achieving this outcome on your own, or with your previous coaches, or with whatever methods you've been using in the past? Why have you not achieved this outcome already? What's the problem? And then you stop talking and you let them talk. And what this person suggests is you want to listen for them, the prospect, to give their reasons as to why they have not yet achieved their desired outcome. And if this person begins offering you excuses for why they haven't achieved their outcome, in other words, if everything they're saying is something external, my wife this, my coach that, my boss this, the neighborhood, the weather, this thing, that thing, if every reason that they're giving for not having achieved their outcome yet is external, pointing towards something other than themselves, you do not want to have this person as a coaching client, because the same excuses that they have for not achieving the results before will be their same excuses as soon as you start working with them. They will not be worth the money. And I 100% agree. That's why I'm telling you about it. But on the other hand, if you ask a person, why have you not achieved your outcome yet? And they start going into their reasonings, and their reasonings are all about, well, you know what? I haven't followed through. I don't quite believe in myself so much. I do not have the proper strategy. I don't have all the information that I need to have. I just got this idea and I haven't even begun working on it yet. If all their reasons for not having achieved their outcome, this prospective coaching client, is all about them, they're owning the fact that they haven't done things. They're taking responsibility for the fact that they haven't achieved yet. Now, this is a person that you will take on as a client, because the same way that they're taking responsibility now, they're going to continue to take responsibility even after they cut you a check and they've hired you to be a coach. So the first thing, and this is point number one, today's topic again, is how you know whether or not to take a person seriously. You want to listen for whether or not they are making excuses about their situation or they are owning their situation. Are they taking ownership and responsibility for where they are right now? Regardless of the topic, regardless if they're doing great or they're doing terribly, are they taking ownership of it? When people are making excuses about they have a lack of resources, things are just not working for them, or usually it's resources. Number one resource people make an excuse with, especially in business, is money. I don't have any money. That's why I haven't done this thing, that thing, and the third thing. Or people say I don't have any time. Usually I don't have any effort, energy, or focus. Those are the 5 forms of investment. Usually it's money, and secondly is time. If you don't have money in business, for example, to hire help, to help you do the things that you need to do, then you exchange time. You substitute time in where you lack money. So go learn the skills on your own, or if you already have the skills, you just feel like you don't have the time, do it yourself and step your energy up, you can get it done. Maybe it's going to take you a little bit longer, but you can make up for a lack of resources such as money in business by substituting time, effort, and energy in where you don't have the money. Then once you do have the money, you can hire people who are just as good as you, maybe better than you, and they can fix the stuff that you didn't do too well once you do have the money. You can barter your skills is another thing. So if you don't have a whole lot of money, but you're really good at a certain thing or certain things, plural, you can barter those things for someone who's good at what you do, and you can help them, they can help you. You scratch their back, they scratch yours. If you can't afford advertising to get people to know about your products and services, you can build an audience through what will be free advertising, content marketing, through having a podcast or a YouTube channel or blogging or whatever other way it is, putting posts on Instagram or Twitter, whatever it is that's going to draw an audience to you. And the point that I'm making here is I'm just giving you these off the top ideas, but this is really about figuring it out. If you don't have the resources to do what you need to do, those should not be excuses. They should be reasons for you to double down on the things that you can do. See, if you don't have money to invest into your business, then that should be a reason for you to invest a whole lot more of your time and energy into making things happen. Now you don't have to worry about where's your money going, who's spending the money, how much is this going to cost. You don't have to worry about any of that because you don't have any money to invest anyway. So now you have fewer problems to worry about, and your focus should be even stronger on the things which you can control. If you don't have time and you don't have energy for your business, but you have a whole lot of money to invest, now that's the only thing you got to focus on. There should be no excuses about how you're using the money because you had nothing else to be paying attention to. So anytime that you are lacking a resource, instead of looking at it as a reason for an excuse or a reason to fail, you should look at it as, you know what, this makes my job a whole lot easier, because now instead of having to focus on all these resources and my allocation of these resources, now since I only have one of these resources or two of them, these are the only things I got to pay attention to. There's nothing I can do about the other ones because I don't have them. So you should be even better, even sharper, even more precise in how you utilize the few resources that you do have. If you don't have money, let's say for example, as a basketball player, you don't need money to get good at basketball. All you need is a basketball and a court. And you go to the court, whether it be outdoors, indoors, whatever the situation, and work on your game. Again, wherever you lack resources, and the biggest resource excuse that I hear from people is either money or time. Usually it's money first and then it's time second. And depending on what industry you're in and type of people you deal with, maybe you get time as the first one and money as the second one, but usually those are the first two. I rarely hear people use anything else as an excuse. Either I don't have money or I don't have time. Well, either one that you're short of, you can substitute the other one in. Now, what if you're short on both? then you need to take a step back and take a bigger picture look at what you're doing. Because I'm sure if you were to apply the 80-20 principle to what you're doing, and we're going to talk about that later on in this episode, you apply the 80-20 principle to what you're doing, you'll be able to free up a little bit of one or the other, maybe both. But if you're short on both, then you need to keep listening to this episode. But if you're short on just one, substitute the one that you do have for the one that you don't have. You don't have a whole lot of time by hiring other people. You don't have a whole lot of money. Substitute what you lack in money by putting your time and energy in to doing the things that you could have paid somebody else to do. Do it yourself. Learn the skills. There's nothing stopping you from doing that. You probably already have the skills. You just haven't put the energy and the time into utilizing them. Point number 2. Today's topic is how you know whether or not to take a person seriously. So the first point is, if a person is making excuses about a lack of resources for not doing what they're doing, you shouldn't take that person seriously. Because anyone who's lacking a resource and they believe that resource is the key to their success, they will find another way to get around that lack of resource to at least make progress towards where they're trying to go. Anyone who's not willing to do that and they get to the point of verbalizing that lack of resource as an excuse, you should not take that person seriously. So just so we're clear on point number 1. Point number 2 is investment. How do you know whether or not to take a person seriously is investment? This is a big one right here. Freelancers and entrepreneurs who are listening to me right now, let me give you a simple time and energy saving tactic that's also going to make you more money. Is that something you'd be interested in? A time and energy saving tactic that will also make you more money. I want to say it twice just to make sure I got your attention. Is that something that you would be interested in? All right, yes. All right, here it is. Write this down. Tattoo it on your forehead. Write a sticky note and put it on your computer screen so you see it every day. Here it is. Stop giving free consultations. That's it. That's the tip. Stop giving free consultations. I don't care what kind of business you run, what kind of agent, if you have an agency, if you are a coach, if you are a consultant, if you are a personal trainer, if you are what other things you could be, if you're a graphic designer, if you're a web designer, if you're anything that you do where you offer a service to people, stop giving people free consultations. Someone's interested in your service and they might become a customer, they might become a client, and they want to meet with you just to talk to you about what they're doing and let you know what their challenges are and see what you have to offer in XYZ. Y'all know what a consultation is. If I'm talking to you right now, you know what I'm talking about. Stop doing those for free. Start charging for them. Consultations cost money. If someone's interested in hiring you as a coach, they had to pay you to sit down with you for an hour to see if you two are fit for each other. That's what I'm saying to you, just in case anybody didn't quite catch that. And if you're a freelancer entrepreneur, you know what I'm talking about. And any of you who's thinking about becoming one, remember that I said this, so when you get into it and you start to understand it, you'll understand what I'm saying here. Don't give your time out for free. Do not give your value out for free. Do not allow someone to, quote unquote, buy you coffee in order to have a consultation with you. Is your industry expertise worth an $8 latte from Starbucks? Or is it worth more than that? Or then stop trading your expertise for less than what it's worth. And this is much more of a mindset than it is a tactical thing. Don't meet with any prospects for free ever again. Someone asks you for a consultation, charge for the consultation. Even if you're doing it on Skype, even if you're doing it by phone, and damn sure if you're doing it in person. Why is this? Why do you do this? And how does it relate to today's topic? Because it weeds out the non-serious individuals. That's what this does. When you charge people to sample your service or to find out about your products or to whatever it is they need to do to learn whether or not they want to make a big investment in you, when you charge people to even find out, man, this does a whole lot of things. First of all, it weeds out the non-serious people. Anybody who's just as they say in business, kicking the tires, or they're just looking or just browsing, or not really a buyer, or they're not a person who really makes these kind of investments, but you're not quite sure yet, or maybe they just don't have that type of money. If you charge for the initial meeting, whatever you want to call it, those people will be weeded out immediately. You get rid of them. That's one thing that happens. Next thing that happens is you get paid for your time. That's a good thing, right? I mean, you are a business person. You are an entrepreneur, right? Okay, in business, business is the exchange of resources. You give a resource, they give a resource. That's what business is. If there's no exchange, there's no business. So if you're giving your consultations for free, no exchange took place. That's not business. Now, you could call it being nice. You could call it paying it forward. You can call it a charity. Those are the things that it is, but it's not business if there's no exchange. If they're getting something and you're getting nothing, that's not business. So the second benefit that you get from charging for your consultations is you actually conduct business because you're a business person. And here's the next thing that happens. Anybody who's not serious is not going to do it. Thusly, you have eliminated them from your process without utilizing any time or energy. Has any of you, any freelancer entrepreneur listening to this, have you ever met with a prospect, or at least who you thought was a prospect, who turned out to be a complete suspect? Those of you who are not in the freelancing entrepreneur service-based business world or never dabbled in it, that's how we refer to you. Okay, that's what we call prospect. We say, all right, is this person a prospect or a suspect? A prospect is a person who actually has the capability and the mindset to buy from you. A suspect is a person who pretends to be those things, but they're actually not. But often, here's the challenge in being a freelancer or entrepreneur, is that we often don't know if a person is a prospect or suspect until we have invested our own time in that individual, and then we get to find out. But that's a bad equation, because then you got to keep investing all this time in a whole bunch of people, and you have no idea whether they're serious or not. I'm telling you how to shortcut that whole process. All you had to do is what I already told you. It's 4 words. Write it down. Stop giving free consultations. No more free consultations. No more coffee. Nobody can buy you coffee to get an hour of your expertise. Are you kidding me? If somebody wants an hour of your expertise, they can go subscribe to your YouTube or listen to your podcast or read a whole bunch of your blogs. All right, that's the free stuff. All right, someone wants something free from you, then that's what they do. If someone comes to me, and some people are listening to this that probably had this exchange with me. If somebody comes to me and asks me for something for free, and I can tell that that's what they're asking for, and they may not say it in so many words, I say, look, if people come to me and ask me to mentor them. I've gotten a lot of mentor requests recently. I think it's probably because of how people listen to this podcast. I tell them, well, look, if you want free mentoring from me, then subscribe to my podcast. There's over 800 hours of content here, probably. I haven't added it up by the minute, but there's a lot of content here, and it's all free, and I'm talking directly to you. Look, there it is. That's the mentoring. Now, if you want me to work with you one-on-one and you want my individual time and attention, then I charge money for that. And instead of calling it mentoring, I call that coaching, and you got to pay. And if you want to have a conversation with me about possibly having me as your coach, you got to pay me for that time. That hour you got to pay for. And if we talk for that 1 hour and you decide that maybe you can't afford the price, or that you're not interested, or I'm not interested, or it's just not going to work out, you got to pay for that 1 hour. And if we never speak again, fine. We conducted business right there. You got something, I got something. And we're still on point number 2 here today. The topic that we are talking about is how to know whether or not to take a person seriously. All you freelancers and entrepreneurs, I just made you a ton of fucking money in the last 10 minutes. I just made you a whole lot of money because the first thing I did for you is save you a ton of time. And time is more valuable than money. And the second thing I did is I have just guaranteed that if you follow what I just told you, you will never invest any more time into a person who is not ready and willing to spend money. Do you notice that's what I just did, right? Okay, just making sure. Anyone who is not serious is not going to pay you for a consultation. You eliminate them from the process, and you spend no time and no energy. And let me give you another hidden benefit that you get from this that most people wouldn't point out. This is not a tangible one. This is an intangible one, but it's probably the most valuable of all. You adjust your posture in business. And posture is a huge thing in business. Is a really huge thing. Is the way posture. When I say posture, what I mean is the way that you present yourself, the way that you see yourself first of all, and then because of the way you see yourself, the way that you present yourself to other people. And the way you present yourself to other people is the way that they are going to perceive you. And the way that people perceive you determines in their mind whether your price is actually worth what it's worth. They determine whether your price and your value match. Your posture. It's not about your business card. It can be a little bit, but not really. It's not about your website. It can be a little bit, but not really. It's not about what they think coaching or consulting or hiring a social media manager is worth. Not what they think is worth, is what you think is worth. And when you change how you see the value, they change how they see the value. And if they don't agree, it's fine, because guess what? You haven't invested any time or energy into talking to them anyway, so it doesn't matter. See, so you don't lose. You can't possibly lose. So anyway, everybody got that point right there? Stop giving free consultations. All right, and we're still in the middle of point number 2. Again, the topic, again, just to remind everybody, how to know whether or not to take a person seriously. Most of you, and everything that I just said about freelancers, entrepreneurs, stop giving free consultations, most of you are too afraid to utilize this tip. So I'm not even concerned about giving this away that I've created a whole bunch of competition, because most of you ain't gonna do it. You're afraid to stop giving free consultations. You're afraid to tell somebody says, oh, here you're a coach, hey, can we meet and have coffee so I can find out maybe we could work together as coach, consultant, and you're not gonna say to them, yeah, we can meet. I charge $250 for a 60-minute consultation, or I charge $500, or I charge $1,000, or I charge $10, whatever it is that you charge. Most of you are too afraid to even say this to actually utilize the point that I'm giving you. How do I know this? Because I know freelancers, I know entrepreneurs, I know service-based business people who I've already told this and they still don't fucking do it. So I know that just by the law of averages, that some of you who are listening to this who I've never met, and I never told you this personally, you ain't gonna do it either. But maybe I'm wrong. Prove me wrong. Those of you who do this, I promise that you will immediately start 80-20ing your business. Everyone knows the 80-20 principle, right? 80% of your results are coming from 20% of your actions. 80% of your revenue in business comes from 20% of your customers. 80% of what people love about you comes from 20% of what you're actually doing. That's a great one right there. Those of you content creators, those of you who are brand builders, only 20% of what you're doing is actually making people like you. The other 80% of what you're doing ain't doing shit. But you don't even realize it because you're not strategically looking at your efforts and your outputs. I can go through the archive of the Work on Your Game podcast, and I know exactly what types of topics get people most engaged, that people pay the most attention to, that people share, that people tell other people about. I know there are certain metrics that I can see, and podcasting has very, what's the word I'm looking for? I can't think of the word. Not very up-to-date metrics just yet. The metrics on podcasting are so behind, let's say, the metrics on, for example, blogging or online advertising or even something like a YouTube. The metrics are very far behind, but once they catch up, we'll learn a whole lot more about our audiences. But the point that I'm making here is, this is the point, the 80-20 rule. 80% of your results are coming from 20% of the actions. And if you started asking yourself, what are the 80% results and what are the 20% actions that are producing 80% of the results, is a better question. You'll start to optimize what you're doing. The challenge with the 80-20 rule for most people is that once you get the information, now you got to utilize it and sacrifice some of your sacred cows. In other words, you got to stop doing certain things that you've fallen in love with doing, even though they're not producing any type of result. That's why you got to ask yourself a better question before you even start, which is, what business am I in? Because if you don't know what business you're in, you don't know what outcome you're trying to produce, you have no idea what to apply the 80-20 rule to. Are you applying it to having fun? Are you applying it to getting likes and retweets and comments? Are you applying it to making money? What are you applying it to? What is the 80 that you're trying to look at? Are you looking at, again, engagement? You looking at comments? You looking at email replies? You looking at subscriber numbers? Are you looking at revenue? What is the 80 that you're trying to achieve? Then you can ask yourself, what's the 20 that's getting it? Anyway, that's a different conversation for a different day. But as you can see, I can't help but to give you great value here on the Work on Your Game podcast. See, this is why. And when someone asks me for mentoring, I say, listen to the fucking podcast. I'm giving it to you every damn day. The point is, anyone who won't invest in their growth, we're still on point number 2. Here's the overall point of point number 2. Anybody who will not invest in their own personal growth is not serious about growth, or their business growth, or their fill in the blank development, growth, advancement, progress, whatever term you want to use. Anybody who will not invest, and when I say invest, I'm talking about money. If they won't put money behind it, they are not serious. Therefore, you should not take them serious. And therefore, you should not give them any of your money. And your time is money. Please rewind that and listen to it again if you didn't hear what I just said over the last 30 seconds. And understand something else. Let me give you another key thing about this second point right here. That is not about the dollar amount. When I say investment, it's not about being $5 versus $500 versus $5,000 versus $50,000 versus $5 million. It's not about the dollar amount. Understand something. It's the act of investing that separates the buyers from the browsers. It's not the amount of money. It's being willing to part with money. It's being willing to invest money that separates the serious from the non-serious. In other words, if someone comes to you and says, I want to sit down with you and consult with you about possibly hiring you as a coach, or to manage my Instagram account, or to be my personal trainer, or to consult with me on my business, or etc., whatever it is they're asking you about, understand something. You could charge $1 versus $1,000. And the same different, no matter how much money you charge, it could be $1. The browsers, the non-serious, they won't make the investment. They won't make the $1 investment. The serious will make the investment even if it was $1,000. Just $1 changes everything. If I started, for example, charging $1 a year for someone to listen to the Work on Your Game podcast, the listenership of this show would go down by, I would guess, 65 to 80%. If all you had to pay was $1 to listen to the show every day for a year, $1. 65% of people wouldn't pay. Why? Because the act of investing is not about the dollar amount. It's a mindset. So when you find someone who doesn't have the mindset of investing, go the opposite direction, or send them the opposite direction. As Big Pun would say, go that way. Point number 3. Today's topic is how to know whether or not to take a person seriously. You need to examine how this person solves mysteries. Yes, how they solve mysteries, like Sherlock Holmes. How does this person solve mysteries? Or Encyclopedia Brown. Any of you who's old enough you remember the Encyclopedia Brown, the books? He was like this young kid detective who would figure things out within the span of 10 pages every time there was some type of mystery. But anyway, the point is, when someone has a challenge, they don't know quite what to do. There's something going on and they need to solve it, but they don't quite know how to solve it. How do they deal with that situation? You need to examine this in people, and when you notice how they solve mysteries, you'll know whether or not to take them seriously. Let me tell you how. When somebody hits a point of, I don't know what to do. When someone gets to that point, and we've all been at that point at different times in life, and we will all be at that point at future times in life. When you get to the point where you're saying to yourself, quote, I don't know what to do, close quote, how do you handle it? What do you do? Now let me tell you, I hear from people often who have reached this point. I don't know what to do. I've gotten to this point and this is where I'm trying to go, but right now I have no idea what to do. Many of these people, when they get to this I don't know what to do point, you know what most people do? They metaphorically, sometimes maybe literally, they sit down in the corner of the room and they do nothing. That's what most people do when they get to a point of not knowing what to do. They do nothing. They just stop trying, they stop giving effort, they don't pass go, they don't collect $200, nothing happens, and it's over for them. And when you find someone who does that, leave them there. Don't help them. Don't try to motivate them. Don't try to inspire them. Leave them there. Because if you motivate them to get up out of the corner and do something for themselves now, guess what's going to happen next time they hit a roadblock? Guess what's going to happen next time they hit a wall? Guess what's going to happen next time they don't know what to do? They're going to sit right down at that spot and do nothing. So are you going to just keep doing it over and over and over again? Probably not. So instead of doing it 3 or 4 or 10 times now until you get to time number 5, 6, or 11 and deciding to give up on them then, why don't you just give up on them now and save yourself the time and energy? Because remember, time is the most valuable thing that you have. So why invest your time in someone who's going to keep draining your time and give you no ROI in any way? See, this is your skill of discernment, ladies and gentlemen. Realizing that I can't even remember who said this, but I read this in a book that nobody does anything just once. And all of you have heard the cliched saying that is very true, that when people show you who they are, believe them. Meaning, both of those statements together means when someone's doing something that seems like a not useful, not productive habit for them, don't think that this is an isolated situation. They will do it again, and they have done it before. So if you think it's a drain on your time now, they'll keep draining your time as long as you keep enabling them by helping them out. So when someone hits this I don't know what to do point and they sit in the corner and do nothing, leave them there because they're not going to do anything anyway, no matter how much you help them. This is not to say, I want to be clear here, just because you get to a point of not knowing what to do doesn't mean that you should not reach out for help. You shouldn't look for help or go to someone and ask them some questions. But here's how to do it. I'm going to tell you exactly how to do it. when you reach a point of not knowing what to do and you decide to reach out to a person. Here's what it needs to sound like. Listen very closely. When you go to that person, you let them know, here's what I've done to this point to help myself. This is the first thing you need to share. These are the things that I've done to help myself. Notice the emphasis in those last two words. Then the next part is, here's the specific situation or specific thing that has me stuck. Specific is the key word. Then you ask, what would you do in this situation? How would you handle this challenge? So the two parts to the question. First one is emphasis, help myself. What have you done? Lay it out so people know that you've helped yourself. And the second part is the specific challenge that you're dealing with. So saying I have no idea where to begin is not specific. I get this often from players who claim to want to play professional basketball. I want to play basketball overseas, Dre, but I don't know where to begin. I'm like, well, why are you coming to me? Why would they come to me? I mean, why did they come to you about playing basketball overseas? Why did they come to me? They come to me because they know I wrote a book about it. They know that I wrote a whole bunch of articles about it. I made a whole bunch of videos about it, but you have no idea where to begin. How about consuming the shit that I put out for free already? So I don't even respond to these people. I don't take them seriously. You understand? I follow the advice that I'm giving you here, all right? Everything I'm telling you here, I do. So how have I helped myself? And then a specific challenge that you're dealing with. You need to do the work to figure out what the specific question is that you have for a person who could possibly help. Make it easy for them to help you. See, getting help from another person is not just them doing all the work. You need to make it as easy as possible for them to help you by being as specific as possible with your challenge and showing them that you're someone worthy of being taken seriously by expressing what you have done already or what you are already doing to help yourself. If the person who is stuck on not having information, 9 times out of 10, 99 times out of 100, you should ignore this person. If you're the one who's being approached for help. If they're stuck on information, I don't know, I don't have the information, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with this, I don't know where to begin. These kind of questions are informational challenges. Ignore these people. Don't even write them back, just ignore them. Because they're either gonna sit in the corner and die, or the light bulb will come on in their head and they'll go get the information. Which they probably already know they need to do. They're just looking for someone to hold their hands. Listen, this is not a hand-holding podcast, and I don't have a hand-holding audience. If their challenge is effort-based, in other words, these are the things that need to be done, they pretty much know what needs to be done, they just haven't done them yet, ignore these people. People who have a problem with effort, what can you do? What can you do with a person who just doesn't want to do the work? Let them not do the work and let them get whatever results they get in their lives, their life. All right, let them do what they want. We don't judge them, but we ignore them. We don't invest in these people because, again, your time is more valuable than your money. So when you give time to somebody, you're giving them your money by default because time is more valuable than money. So you got to be careful with your time. So ignore these people. The only time that you give a response to someone who's coming to you to help is if the person is invested in being helped, as I already explained to you very deeply in point number 2. And the key aspect of growth, ladies and gentlemen, is solving problems. Getting better, stepping up your game, elevating your position in an industry, elevating your position within a group, within an organization is all about your ability to solve problems. If you cannot solve problems, you have no value to any group, anywhere in the world. That's a hell of a statement, so I'm gonna say it one more time and you can check me and let me know if I'm wrong. If you cannot solve problems, you have no value anywhere in the world. If you're listening to this right now and you're at work, if you have a job, you have value. You know how I know you have value? Because somebody hired you and paid you money to do something. That is solving a problem. Because if you didn't work there, somebody else would have to work there. There's a problem being solved by you being at that job. That's solving a problem and you have value. If you are running a business, whatever your business is, whatever it is you help people do or help people avoid or whatever it is you help people get rid of or create or whatever it is you're doing, that's the value that you're bringing to the table. You're helping people solve a problem. If you open a gym, you're helping people solve the problem of being in shape. If you sell cars, you're helping people solve the problem of transportation. If you're a bus driver, you help people solve the problem of getting from point A to point B. Whatever it is you're offering needs to solve a problem. Ask yourself, What problem does my business solve? What problem am I solving every single day when I open up shop or when I get to work or when I fill in a blank, whatever it is that you're doing? People who solve problems have value. The most valuable people in the world, the most valuable places, the most valuable things, the most valuable services are those which solve the most problems for the most people and the most important problems for the most people. Amazon solves a whole lot of problems for a whole lot of people every single day, and that's why they're worth so much money. Apple solves a whole lot of problems for a whole lot of people. That's why they're worth what they're worth. Social media solves a problem for people that didn't even know they had. A way to communicate with people that they didn't even know, they don't even know, may never even know and never even meet, but you can tell them all your life and all your business. That solves a problem that people didn't know they had until they had access to it. It solves a big problem, and this is why so many companies are worth so much money. This is how value is created, solving problems. Person who's not willing or unable, or at least feigning to be unable to solve their own problems, is an individual who is not to be taken seriously, and you should be very wise, very discerning, and not investing your resources into these individuals. That's the point of today's topic. As we recap, the topic today is how to know whether or not to take a person seriously. Point number 1, excuses. If you hear someone making excuses that the reason that their situation is not ideal is because of something external, another person, a job, a place, the weather, the politicians, the government, if everything about their situation is being blamed on external factors, this person is an excuse maker. You do not want to invest in them because they will still have excuses no matter what you do for them, say to them, or tell to them. Anything that someone is missing to not get to where they want to get to, most people are smart enough that by deductive reasoning, they can figure out how they can compensate for it. Anyone who is unwilling to do that is not to be taken seriously. Do not invest in that person. And speaking of investment, point number 2, investment is the second way to know whether or not to take a person seriously. This really should have been point number 1. All freelancers and entrepreneurs, I gave you $1 million worth of game today. Stop giving free consultations. This will, first of all, free up your time. Second of all, 80-20 all the browsers and buyers out of your pipeline so you stop talking to them, which frees up a whole lot more of your time. Third of all, it frees you to only talk to people who are actually willing to part with money. And if you're in business, you better be talking to people who are willing to part with money. And fourth, it adjusts your posture in business. This right here, I should have charged y'all for this. Investment. If people are not willing to invest in themselves, they are not serious. Weed out the non-serious people who have not made investments in themselves. If a person comes to you with a challenge about something and they have not made any type of investment, the 5 forms of investment are time, money, attention, energy, focus. They have not invested in themselves into getting better. Someone won't invest the time into reading a book about a subject that they claim to want to get better at. Someone won't invest the time into listening to an hour-long interview you did where you answered all the questions that they're already asking you. When someone won't invest the time into reading the blogs that you've been writing for the last 2 years about a certain subject, but they want help on a certain subject, these people are not to be taken seriously. Do not make your investments in these people. If someone hasn't made an investment in themselves, you are a fool for making an investment in them. Do you understand what I'm saying here? I don't know if I can say that any more clearly than I've said it already. None of you better not be making this mistake still after I have laid it out so clearly here today. Point number 3. And oh yeah, let me tell you one more thing about point number 2. Investment is not about a dollar amount. You can charge $1 and people who are not serious about investing won't pay $1. It's not about how much money people have. When anyone makes an excuse about an investment, 98% of the time, it is not about not having the money. It's about not having the mindset. And people who don't have the mindset to invest will never make investments. So don't invest any time into them. Point number 3. How do people solve mysteries? Do they solve mysteries? Do they have a whole bunch of unsolved mysteries in their lives that can easily be solved by just making a simple investment in time and energy? If a person won't make an investment of time and energy, they are not serious. I mean, how many times have I said that? I'm not gonna keep saying it. This is not to say that you won't ever need help or that you shouldn't look for help. But when you do, you should be able to come to a person and say, here are the things I've done to help myself, and here's the specific point that I'm stuck at. What would you do in this situation? There is one caveat to this, that you could pay somebody to put in the time and effort for you or to supply the thinking for you that you're unwilling to do if you're willing to pay them enough. You can pay somebody enough money, they will do the thinking for you. All right, they'll do the thinking for you. They'll do the researching for you. They'll go get on Google and do 2 Google searches to get the information for you if you're willing to pay them enough. But if you're not going to pay them to do that, you need to be doing this for yourself. And if you come to somebody with a informational or an effort-based mystery that is unsolved, you're going to be ignored by anybody who's serious. The only time these get a response is the person is invested already in help. That's, again, covered in point number 2. Key aspect of growth, ladies and gentlemen, is solving problems. If you cannot solve problems, you have zero value whatsoever to the world. The most valuable people, places, things, services, whatever in this world are those that have made the biggest investment in themselves. Therefore, to understand more about making investments in yourself, I suggest you read the Business Bundle, which are my 3 books on sales, rapport building, relationships, communication. That is at workonmygame.com/biz, B-I-Z. That's 3 books. The Seller's Mindset is one. The second one is 25 conversation starters. And the third one is 55 daily people skills. That's at workonmygame.com/biz for the Business Bundle. Work on, and listen, you should buy the Business Bundle just with the money that you're going to make and the money that you don't have to waste in the form of your time and dealing with people who are not going to invest in your consultations alone. Work on your game. Dre all day.